I'm Dan Lee, and I'm a bushwhacker.
I'm Lillian Babcock, and I'm a bushwhacker.
I'm Eileen Beihauer, and I am a bushwhacker.
I'm Lauren Stonebrenner, and I'm a bushwhacker.
I'm Martin Beihauer, and I'm a bushwhacker.
Go Bushwackers!
Well, a green Birdathon means you're not driving. It means you're going to be walking or riding a bike, which puts a whole new a challenge on the event. But it also makes it a lot more fun, as we found out.
Well, my girlfriend is a birder, and she actually sort of dragged me into birding, and I've really learned a lot, and I call myself an associate birder because I kind of hang around birders. But when Martin mentioned the Birdathon and doing it on bicycles, I said, yeah, it's perfect because I like to bike. So I've learned a lot in the last 3 times that I've done it, and Martin's an excellent teacher, and I wish I had even a quarter of his knowledge. And we've raised some money for a good cause too, and you know, we're trying to build enthusiasm for the idea that you can do birding without having to be dependent on a car.
Kinmolay Harbor Regional Park is a very special place that has the potential to be one of the most diverse and productive wildlife preserves in the heart of the city here. It's degraded. I've been involved in it for 20 years trying to fix it up, and so we traditionally like to start there.
Mr. Beihauer was my 7th grade teacher, so I've known him for 4 years. Last year he asked me if I wanted to be in the Birdathon after I'd been sponsoring him for a long time. And I got a bike, and that's how I became a bushwhacker.
One day Lauren Stonebrenner came up to me at school and said, you know, my other friend can't come with me, and why don't you come along? And so I said, you know, I'll think about it. And Mr. Beihauer took that as a definite yes. And so, I mean, that kind of really made me excited about it and excited to be part of this group. And I'm really glad I did it.
Mr. Beihauer, I got a hawk. I don't know what type it is, though.
Where?
Okay, so it's on the light pole at 12 o'clock from me.
You coot? Yeah, let's add coot. American coot.
Marsh wren.
Oh yeah, I got that.
Good.
Yeah, this is the Bonaparte gulls. Cool.
The thing about Harbor Park is the longer you stay there, the more you see, and the hardest thing about doing a Birdathon is deciding when the cost-benefit ratio has maxed out. And when diminishing returns start to happen, then you gotta leave. And I love Harbor Park, so I always hate leaving Harbor Park, so it's really hard to tear me away. I get about 44. I guess that's a good start. I mean, because the thing is, we're gonna see a lot of birds today, and we got a lot of the ones that we had to get here. So when Eileen and I first met, I kind of turned her on to birding, and she knew that birding was going to have to be part of the package, and she embraced it.
I got involved in the Birdathon as a result of the persuasion of my husband, Martin, who sort of bushwhacked me into this endeavor.
And she has embraced it and loves it. And she loves the challenge of a Birdathon.
And I enjoyed the Birdathon every year, being of a competitive spirit.
And so I was thrilled a couple of years ago when she offered to be the walking team for our Birdathon. And so she walked over to a very special place that we did not have time to hit on bike, Madrona Marsh.
I love Madrona Marsh. You feel as if when you're in the middle of it that all of the modern life just sort of melts away.
So glad to see you.
I arrived at Madrona Marsh at 8 a.m. Tracy was expecting me, and she let me in through the gate. Tracy Drake is the director at the Madrona Marsh, and she knows where to find things on the marsh and what has been seen and what we can expect to see.
So adorable.
I just really enjoy being with Tracy. She's just a joy to be around, and very easygoing and very knowledgeable, so it's fun.
From Harbor Park, we shot on over to the LA River. That's a very long but very bike-friendly ride. The LA River, it's interesting. There's some species that use it as a staging area. Most of our wetlands are gone in California, so we might get some migratory shorebirds and ducks and things like that that are getting pretty hard to find at this time of the year. And almost anything can show up down there, and it's a good avenue to take to get to some of the inland sites we wanted to see. So when you're not driving all over the place, you don't have as many options, so you really have to plan your route carefully. And we wanted to try to find the 4 different sets of species that are possible on any given birdathon. There's basically 4 groups. There's the birds that live here year-round, there's the birds that spend the winter here, the birds that come here in summer to breed, and the birds that just pass through. So the trick is to get that perfect sweet spot in between where everybody's here at the same time. DeForest Park is the place where we hope to see some of those really pretty little gems, those neotropical migrants that are on their way all the way up to the Canadian Shield and the Arctic to breed. Things like warblers, vireos, tanagers, grosbeaks, all of those great, really pretty little birds.
Hey, there's a warbler it was either the flycatcher, the Pacific slow flycatcher, or a warbler just went up there.
I've only been birding for about a year, so the best part about yesterday was having Mr. Beihauer help me in identifying all the new species of birds that I'd never seen before.
When I was a kid, we had these popsicles. I don't know if they still have them, little big sticks with the red and then the yellow.
Yeah.
He reminds me of those. Every time I see one, I get hungry for a popsicle. Excellent bird, you guys. Olive-sided flycatcher. There's a dozen western tanagers here. We're not leaving this spot till we get at least 8 new birds. Now 7, okay?
Well, DeForest Park gave us some real gems, but it didn't give us the diversity, the numbers of species that we'd hoped for.
Okay, so where are we at, Lauren?
75 species.
Well, that's not too bad. Can we get 36 more? That's our goal. No problem, right?
So we had to change the plan, go to plan B, and shoot all the way back down to the coast and try to pick up a different set of species if we wanted to get our numbers to the high levels we'd hoped for. Well, the long, hard ride down to Cabrillo proved to be worth it, as I knew it would, because Cabrillo is right at the place where the Palos Verdes Peninsula sticks out into the ocean. And it's one of those places where any birds that are migrating along the coast have to kind of go either around it or over it to continue their migration. So it's a super place to get coastal birds and shorebirds and seabirds. Cabrillo was everything we'd hoped for and then some. We saw huge flocks of loons flying offshore, even some in close to shore. We saw brant geese flying offshore. We got a kingfisher that I hadn't expected, and a real treat was the flock of over 200 black skimmers that were on the beach there. Well, it was getting late in the day, but we had more species to see, and the only way to get there was a very steep ride uphill to Point Furman, where there's a nice cliff that you can look off and see some additional sea species and that sort of thing. And there we got really lucky and got a peregrine falcon. From Point Furman, we headed on down to Royal Palms. That's the place you go to see the rocky shorebirds, what we call rock pipers. And we needed those species, and there's a place that you can kind of hang out on the cliff and look down. So it was almost sunset, and we were up there looking down on the rocks, trying to pick out the tiny little specks on the rocks so we could add a few additional species. And we did see black oystercatcher and a few other choice ones there. So after Royal Palms, we knew we had time for only one more stop, and we decided to head back to White Point Preserve. White Point Preserve is an area that's under restoration, and it's a fantastic site with coastal sage scrub, and native grassland. And there we had hoped to see a California gnatcatcher. It's traditional to get a gnatcatcher to finish the day on this trip, and we were not disappointed.
Well, guys, it was really nice to finish with the California gnatcatcher that we just got up there. So that's always a good end of the day bird. We made a statement for the 3rd year in a row that big green birding is the way to go. And carbon neutral birding is where it's at. Carbon neutral wildlife appreciation. Eileen can't wait to tell me how many she got, and I don't even know how many Chris got, so I think we might have set a new record. You know, we might have beat that 110 from last time, so I'm really excited. But we got some great stuff today. You guys, I mean, for better or worse, I think we're all going to be feeling this tomorrow, but thank you so much.
Knowing that the Birdathon is going to raise money to help the environment is really what kept me going when I didn't feel like biking anymore.
This Birdathon made me feel excellent about helping a good cause.
It's a great way to raise money for the PV South Bay Audubon.
We basically have succeeded not only in raising some cash, we succeeded in promoting the idea of enjoying nature in a green, responsible way.
I'd really like to thank the Bushwackers. My team really gave it their all, as they always do. And I'd also like to thank PV South Bay Audubon for supporting the idea of a green Birdathon.